let's say if my surcharge is $3, but my split to the merchant is that I'm going 50-50, and then out of that 50-50, I have to pay my cash loader a 33% out of that. What is my net outcome of that? So we're talking about on $3, 50-50. My keep will be $1.50, but I already committed to the cash loader $1. So my net would be 50 cents. Hello, everyone. Today I have a podcast that it will be designed for new providers. We have Lingo. We have our own language, I guess we can put it away, say it this way. But I want to make sure that you guys understand what do we mean with a lot of the lingo how do we express ourselves or how do we talk? And I of course, I asked ChatGPT to help me with some of this stuff. And if there's more, if you guys can add to it. But I think we will start with ATM ownerships and locations. ATM operator. What is an ATM operator, or what's an independent ATM deployer, also known as an IAD? We operate non-bank ATMs. If it was a bank-owned ATM, we'll call it a financial institution ATM, an FI. What's a deployed ATM? It's an ATM that is out in the street producing for us, that is placed at a merchant location. What's an off-prem ATM? A non-bank location that is located at a retail store, at a bar, our gas station, dispensary. What's an on-prem ATM? People call it a bank branch ATM. A location agreement it's your asset that will get you to sell the agreement or sell your operations to somebody. Revenue share or surcharge split. Let's start with surcharge. Surcharge is what we charge the customer to pull monies out of the ATM. Revenue share is what do we decide to negotiate with the merchant and understand what is a good location in regards to how much the merchant will receive and how much the ATM operator will have to play with paying the cash vaulter or cash loader, or if they're loaded them themselves, what would that look like? An anchor location. It's a high traffic, long-term ATM placement. I can think about like if you have it at a grocery store and it's a high traffic area, a gas station in the highway, that is a high traffic placement. We talked about surcharge, the fee that we charge to the card holder per withdrawal. Interchange is the fee paid by the card holder's bank to the ATM operator. All in yield, the net profit after fees and expenses. Reg E is when we get a dispute, and the disputes are not it's just a dispute. We will know if they're valid or not until we pull the journal. So then that brings, what is the journal? The journal is what the ATM keeps store, and that it will help us determine if a transaction is valid or invalid. The vault cash, of course, that doesn't require any sort of explanation. I found here this one that I have not heard before. Float, the total cash tied across all machines. I call it more the inventory, what you have in the street. The cash load or refill is what you normally keep in that machine. A lot of the new merchants or the new operators will ask me, how much money should I keep in the machine? Should I keep there hundreds, thousands of dollars? And I am more cautious, and I tell them that when we start, if the location is close by, we can start with $1,000. If the location is out of our scope, we just started with a little bit more, and you know how often you go to that area, and you know how often to refill that machine. Self-vaulting. For some operators that self-vault the machines, is they're using their own cash. They're using a cash loader. It's a machine that is loaded, of course, so they will express that. Cash in transit is the cash that is being moved when you leave the bank and you are moving that from the bank to the ATM. Cash turn, how often you turn that money. Some people turn it every 3 days, every 5 days, every week, every 2 weeks. Financial institutions will turn it every 6 to 8 weeks because their pockets are much deeper. Is the machine over vaulted or under vaulted? Do you have too much cash on there? Do you have not enough? Is it running out? Is it running out on the weekends? Is it running out during the week? If it's running out during the week, you might need to consider putting in a lot more cash on that machine. Processing and settlement. Processor, the company routing ATM transactions transactions. So there are, I'm going to call it 3 or 4 major providers: FIS, Switch Commerce, DNS, CDS. Those are all processors. The switch is the network that routes those transactions. Think about it as Visa and MasterCard on the major scheme of things. The settlement, funds credited, debited after a transaction clears. An ACH, bank-to-bank transfer method that we use. The network logos, that part is very important, because if you go to an ATM, you expect that ATM to be identified with logos, who to call in case there's suspicious activities, who should the merchant call and ask or notify anybody. There's some hardware and tech questions. Through the wall, or TTW, an ATM that is installed through the wall. A lobby ATM, of course, that's for banking purposes. A kiosk, since part of our operations will involve kiosks. A kiosk come in different features, like could be a Bitcoin machine, it could be a self-serving placement or to self-serve transactions. Cassette, capacity. On the cassette and the capacity, we know that there's 2 types of cassettes that we use normally on the retail machines: a 1K or a 2K. A 1K holds 1,000 notes, a 2K holds 2,000 notes. A mixed machine that will hold multiple denominations, so you will have multiple cassettes. One can hold 10s, another one can hold 20s, or you can do 5s and 20s, whatever mix. Or if you have 3 cassettes, you can do 5 10s and 20s, or 5 50s and 20s, or 5 20s and 50s. That's the denomination mix. Remote monitoring. So with remote monitoring, we have 2 major companies that provide remote monitoring. One of them is PAI, another one is DPL, and I don't know, I believe DNS provides monitoring as well, and that's a feature that is very beneficial for all of us. Compliance and risk, PCI compliance. At this time, everybody should be EMV compliant. We don't know what the case is with our keypads yet. Hopefully the keypads, we will have a definite answer, but as of right now, any keypad that we have operating since, I think, for the last 14 years, those keypads have been fine. So anti-skimming devices, there's devices that are used to check on the machine to see if there's a skimming device. But for that, I'll suggest for you to actually put your hands on the machine and touch the places that are normally used to put skimmers. We talked about journal. Dispense error. What is a dispense error? It's when we have a bill jam, or when a customer requested $100. If we're dispensing 5 bills, and the machine just dispensed 4 out of the 5. So we will see dispense error on the receipt. The customer will show amount requested 100, amount dispensed 80. A chargeback, an amount will be considered a disputed transaction. And metrics information, and how do we measure the ATM performance? We measure it by monthly transactions. So you will hear an operator saying, you produce X amount of transactions this month. Revenue is very hard to talk about the revenue, because for some operators, they will have a flat fee, and then their splits could be very different. So a good example of that is, let's say if my surcharge is $3, but my split to the merchant is that I'm going 50-50, and then out of that 50-50, I have to pay my cash loader 33% out of that. What is my net outcome of that? So we're talking about on $3, 50-50, my keep will be $1.50, but I already committed to the cash loader $1, so my net would be 50 cents. For some places is very doable. It makes a lot of sense to do that. In other places it might not. If you have volume, if you have a lot of volume, and if you want to place a lot of machines, you can just play with numbers and determine what is the best return on investment for you. Let's say a break even. How many transactions? A very common question is, how many transactions do I need to have at this location in order for me to make sense? Well, we go back to what Sal was saying. You have to have the end in mind. You have to understand the end in mind. You have to know, what is something that makes sense for me? I want my machines to produce $150 monthly. So if the machine costs now $3,000 and I want to make at least $150 a month, that will take me 20 months. Well, that's about 20 months. So that's a little bit over a year and a half. Is that good? Well, it might be good for me, might not be good for you. You might want a return to be faster. Uptime Uptime is very important because the uptime, you want your machine to be up 24/7. Of course, there's stuff that happen. Right now, I have one of my merchants just reach out to me that we have a bill jam up in about 20, 30 minutes away from where we are. So we have to make sure that we go out and take care of that bill jam for the machine to be back in service. A dead machine, a low volume, a crusher. Imagine a high volume ATM, a prime spot. It's a place that we don't want to jeopardize because it's a gold mine. A house cache. It's when the merchant operates their own. They load it themselves. What else can we add in there? I think we had cash loader, an agent, an AID. We talked about that. A tap machine, or that has a NFC. I don't have a card with me, but a lot of the cards will have the tap feature for us to tap. We're not in the stage as of January 2026 that a lot of the retail merchants will accept a tap by phone. So hopefully this year we will see a lot of progress on that. What else can I talk to you guys? If you guys have any questions or would like to learn more about it, ATMs and the lingo that we use, reach out. There's a few stuff that we need to visit and talk about probably in the next podcast, and it's in regards to the ATM Act, or the societies that have gone cashless. And I think it's our duty and our duty as ATM operators to make sure that cash is operated as a form of payment, as that's the currency that we use. And there's a lot of underbanked individuals that depend on having an ATM in order to buy their goods. Thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.